Hey, I'm Bob. This is where we learn how to have more fun playing tabletop RPGs together, and sometimes where we learn through surveys how much fun other people are having playing various role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, I call upon you once more to collect and share some cool data that will reveal the innermost thoughts and feelings of our nerdy little community. By that I mean, Dungeons & Dragons recently posted this short survey asking how respondents feel about the game of D&D, the company, Wizards of the Coast, who makes it, and more. And this is very interesting timing because we just got a ton of announcements about what D&D is planning for the next year, from bringing back some classic settings to making one of them mature rated to launching universes beyond collaborations with World of Warcraft, Star Wars, and surely more to come. But because those official survey results are most likely for internal use only, I made this exact copy. Same questions, same responses, so I can share the results publicly in a video or a post a few weeks from now. Also, because by the time you're seeing this, the official survey may already be closed. Yeah, last time I saw one of these, it was open for only like 3 days, which would definitely be too late by the time I'm able to post this video. And yes, I know the colossal asterisk on this fan-made survey is that it's going to reach a different group of people than the official survey, who will have different biases from the people taking the official survey, who most likely have the most positive opinions about D&D. Because as far as I know, the official survey was only released on D&D Beyond and some of D&D's social media accounts. But the other asterisk here is that any of this data, official or otherwise, it doesn't really matter. The only opinion about D&D or any RPG that matters is your own. It's just fun to hear what other people are thinking and feeling about this game too, and that's why most of this video is gonna be me like mulling over each question, debating myself on how to answer. So my requests are, take the survey linked below. It's very short. This video is only long because I'm going to be rambling through each question. Then take the official survey if it's still open. And the big one, encourage other creators you like to repost this fan-made survey and/or the official one to their own communities so we can get a broader range of results. So here we have it, Dungeons and Dragons. Cool background here with a collage of artwork from the new books, it looks like. And it says, whether you are a returning or a new adventurer to our periodic community survey, we really appreciate your feedback. When we say Dungeons and Dragons, we mean D&D, the D&D tabletop role-playing game, TRPG. That's just a funny side note to me. I have been seeing this acronym, just one T instead of TTRPG, more often, and I gotta say I kinda like it. Come on, we've been using 5 characters for our acronym. The only time that really works is when the acronym is also a word, like laser, I think scuba. That's not relevant to our survey though. Let's actually begin. Question 1, what is your age? So I'm gonna put in my actual age here, and you can rest assured knowing that the fan-made version of this survey, there's no identifying information to like connect that to your personage. Next, overall, how do you feel about Dungeons and Dragons D&D these days? So this is like the main question, I think, and it's funny to me how they start out with the negative, right? Like the top response is, I hate this game. That's so powerful. Oh man, I don't like this game. I'm neutral. I like this game. And I love this game. So when we talked about mulling over questions, in a very literal sense, the game system of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, I would have to say I don't like it. But when we're talking about Dungeons & Dragons, D&D, the brand, the feeling of D&D, does that make sense? The presence of D&D in the world as the namesake, the mainstream namesake for tabletop role-playing games. Like that I love, right? And yes, I am a person who, kind of throws around the word love probably more than I should when just talking about games. Oh, okay, wait. I accidentally clicked it and it immediately went to the next question. So yeah, if I'm hovering between I love the game because I love what it does for people, right? I think the world would literally be a better place if everyone played tabletop role-playing games, TRPGs, if you will. Not necessarily Dungeons and Dragons, but this is the gateway for 95% of, okay, I shouldn't be throwing out stats, this is a survey, but this is the gateway to tabletop gaming for most people. Just because you first played Pathfinder or the Star Wars RPG 25 years ago, that is not the experience of most people. If we can't agree on that, you're wrong. I don't know how else to tell you that nicely. So bringing it back, how do I feel about D&D these days? I think I still just gotta go with, I like this game. Okay, number 3. How likely are you to recommend playing Dungeons & Dragons as someone you know? And this has ties to the previous question. I'm not very likely to recommend actually playing D&D 5th edition. Because I think, especially for a new player, if the game takes like an hour just to make a character, unless you can really make that part of the game fun for them because it is a game in its own way, or of course you're using pre-gens or whatever, I just feel like there are myriad RPGs that can get a new player into the experience that D&D offers much better than, much faster and smoother for a new player than actual Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Of course, if someone just like wants to play the real deal, like that's important to them, then absolutely, I would recommend they play literal Dungeons & Dragons. There are still tools to make it easier. And like I said, I think everybody in the freaking world should play TRPGs. So I'm definitely on the upper half of this scale. I'm not going to say extremely likely because to me that also is implying play the literal game. Yeah, 7 or 8 would probably be where I land here. I'll use D&D rules and round down unlike actual math, so let's go with 7. Number 4, how likely are you to recommend D&D Beyond to someone you know? Now my personal biases here would be like a 0 or a 1. Because like I don't use D&D Beyond. If anything, like my most frequent uses for it are actually when I'm just looking things up for a video. When I'm playing games these days, it's usually not Dungeons & Dragons, so it wouldn't make sense to be using D&D Beyond for that. But even the last I did, maybe March this year, I ran 5 or 6 sessions of the D&D starter set. But we didn't need D&D Beyond because all of the information we needed was packed into those materials. That's how I like it. But on the other hand, remembering the previous question, if someone really wanted to play official D&D, like that's what they were in for, and you know, I'm trying to recommend, the quick start for Shadowdark is free, it's easier to read, you know, it's really straightforward, like you can actually get going in a few minutes on your own. Like that's a way better onboarding tool than D&D books, but D&D Beyond has made great strides to make character creation, and I think there's even like a quick little tutorial on here now for new players. I haven't checked that in a while. So in that case, I'd be more likely to recommend D&D Beyond to someone I know. And maybe more so these days, now that, you know, one of the announcements they just made was a new part of the site looking for group. So people can find local events and even link up with Start Playing to find like a paid GM for a session, and there was some like very good deal on that as well. So in light of that news, whatever I choose here, like it's higher than it would have been a couple months ago. I think I'm just gonna keep it simple and go with another 7. Now, question 5, and we're already like halfway done. Please take a look at the following statements. How much do you agree or disagree with each? Wizards of the Coast cares about me as a D&D player. Now we're going to what do I think about Wizards, right? They definitely care about me insofar as I purchase D&D books. And I'm guessing they do want me to have fun because that would incline me to buy more books. So I have to go with at least agree. Now, Wizards of the Coast is headed in the right direction. This one I think I have to just straight up say neutral because I don't know what direction Wizard of the Coast is headed in. Like, I see the next one. Dungeons & Dragons is headed in the right direction. I would definitely say agree. Now that they're opening up and like literally branching out to creating more kinds of materials, like I summarized at the beginning. So they're heading in many directions. And I think that is better than one direction, as they had kind of tried to do there for a minute, I guess. Yeah, I also want to, clarify the way I'm interpreting this is not like there is a right direction, a correct direction, or a morally right direction. It's just what they're doing now feels better for my biases of getting more people into the game. In fact, if this was just about Universes Beyond, I would agree strongly it's a right choice, because that's going to tap into millions more people, even if they just hear about D&D because it's partnering with their property of choice, whatever. That's going to do a lot for tabletop RPGs, all of them. But on the whole, okay, yeah, I'll just stick with agree. And then finally, I trust Wizards of the Coast with D&D. Perhaps the trickiest question of all. Do I trust the company? Like, that's tough to say. But do I trust the people working for the company? Like, as individuals, everybody I've met from there or chatted with or just like watched interviews of them talking about the game. They're very passionate people. You only get to a position like that if you freaking love this stuff, to go back to overusing the word love, perhaps. They've made it their whole life, at least for the people designing the game. So in that respect, I trust the employees of Wizards of the Coast on an individual basis. It's the leadership that I'm not sure of. Their number one goal isn't necessarily aligned with my own goals. It doesn't mean we can't trust each other, I guess. If anything, I trust that I know what they're doing with it. So trust is actually an interesting choice here. I think it would have been better if they just used the hate them, love them, like them, dislike them. And I think that is what they asked on the previous version of this survey a couple years ago. And I guess I'm just going to go with neutral. It would be that or disagree. Okay, and now we're almost done. You know, what could Wizards of the Coast do to improve my opinion of where we are headed with D&D? And that's interesting phrasing. Whereas the other questions felt like it was from a more like third party. This one is Wizards asking me, talking to me directly. And you already know my response. Make more beginner-friendly game materials, spelling words correctly. Make a starter set with actually simplified version of D&D 5e. I'm reminded just how pedantic D&D 5e can be when I read things like obscured areas. An area might be lightly or heavily obscured. Lightly obscured in a lightly obscured area, such as an area with dim light. Come on. Those are the main things that I want to see that they're like not actually doing right now. Okay. Next, when was the last time I played D&D? Yeah, I think it's probably within the last 6 months for me. Oh, and there we go. So to read those responses, because it quickly flipped me to the next question, it says within the last week, within the last few months, or few weeks, within the last month, within the last 6 months, 12 months, or more than 12 months ago, or never. Under 6 months for me. And this final question, it looks like, do you watch any Dungeons & Dragons actual play shows? Choose all that apply. I find this very interesting. They've been pushing so hard on the show that they've made, Dungeon Masters, here it is. I watched a little bit of the first episode, I think. I think I'm just not really the audience for actual play. The only one that I watch is Dimension 20, and even that, I don't like keep up with it. And that's not to be like, oh yeah, I'm not really that into it. There was a period when I was obsessed with Critical Role, like that was during Campaign 1, this, before I had a YouTube channel or anything, and I like to see what Critical Role does and achieves. All that said, Dimension 20 is the only one I can really honestly say here. Well, that is my answer. And then that's it. Thanks again. We really appreciate you taking the time. Oh, and it sends me right to D&D Beyond. Okay. And with that, I hope you also have a fun time mulling over those questions for yourself. Hopefully I aided your thought process without influencing it too much. That is also another reason, if you're coming from this video, there's going to be some inherent biases. And on that note, feel free to share some of your thoughts and feelings in the comments too. Personally, I think it is a good thing that D&D is even asking how to improve and what people want or don't want. But I guess even doing this is an act of trying to please all the people, versus, for example, a publisher who's just going to do their own thing. Like they're going to make what they want to make and you can like it or not.
If you don't like that notion that magic is powerful and dangerous but unpredictable, it's sort of terrifying, then yeah, this probably isn't a game for you, and that is fine. Go play Draw Steel.
D&D doesn't really have that luxury because they are the biggest, they have the biggest audience, they have to be trying to please lots of different people. It's just that with these recent announcements, we've learned they're trying to achieve that by doing a bunch of different things at once. So thank you for taking this survey and for sharing it with creators you like so we can get even more people involved and see their responses too. And thanks to the Bob World Builder patrons and YouTube channel members who make all of this possible. Keep building.